Good morning. I hope all is doing well. Today is April the 16th on a Thursday. It is so beautiful outside, but it's so cold. So ready for some warm weather. Hope all is doing well. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So today we're doing lesson 21. We're doing rounding decimals again. We did it in our Score Boost book, so now we're doing it in our pattern book. So this gives you kind of a different look. So we're going to go over this very quickly. Not going to spend a lot of time on it. And don't forget to do your worksheet on Google Docs. So let's get started. So lesson 21, round decimals. You can round decimals just as you would round numbers. Rounding decimals is a method used to estimate. So often that estimate is close to the exact amount. Rounding can help you determine about how many or how much of something. So to round a number to a particular place, look at the digit to its right. Let me show you right here. So if it is 5 or more, then we're going to round up. If it is less than 5, we are going to round down. Once you understand rounding to a particular place, you will be able to explain and reason about what you have rounded. So let's look at this example. So example says round 1.73 to the nearest tenth. And then it says to round 1.86 to the nearest tenth. So first off, it tells us to identify what place value are rounding to. In this case, we are rounding to the 10th place. Second, it tells us to look at the digit to the right of the rounding place. And then it says to compare the 100th digit to 5. If the digit is less than 5, then and it says round down. Because 3 is less than 5, then it says round down. So 3.73 is going to round to 1.7. Okay? So then it says to identify what place value you are rounding to. In this case, we're rounding to the 10th. Look at the digit to the right of the rounding place. It says compare the 100th digit to 5. If the digit is 5 or greater, round to the next tenth. Because the 6 is greater than 5, then we are going to round up. And so 1.6 is going to round to 1.9. So let's look at the test example. It says number 1, what is 4.327 rounded to the nearest hundredth? So first off, what we're going to do, we know where our 100th place is. So let's look at our 100th place. So there's 1, there's a whole number, there's the 10th, and so there's the 100th. So then we're going to look at the 1,000th place. And we're going to say, is this 5 or higher? And so we know the 7 is higher. So we know we are going to round up. So it says, so D is 4.33. So 7 is greater than the 5, and so it rounds up. And so it's going to round up to D, 4.33. So we go from a 2 to a 3, and we drop off the rest. Normally when you're just doing with regular numbers, you'll just add a 0, 0. But when you're rounding with decimals, you just drop it off. So it says sometimes benchmark numbers can help you to compare and round numbers. Example benchmark numbers are 0, 0.5, 1, and 1.5. I hope this helped you to help you explain with this. If not, you can always email me or send me a message on Instant Messenger. Okay, so let's look at number 1. So number 1 reads, what is 14.516 rounded to the nearest whole number? So we know our whole number is going to be 14, so we're going to look at the place value in the 10th place, and that is 5. So we know that is above, so we know that 14 is going to round to 15. All right, so let's look at number 2. So number 2 reads, let's go to number 1. I'm going to go ahead and circle this. So number 2 is going to read this. So number 2 says, use the number line. And it says, what is 1.75 rounded to the place value of the underlined digit? So we know that 7 is underlined, so we're going to look over to the next one. And so we're going to round up. So this is going to be rounded to C, 1.8 C. All right, so let's look at number 3. So number 3 reads, which number could have been the result of rounding to the nearest tenth? So let's look at, we're going to have to look at all of them to see which one we have correct. Okay, so let's look at A. So A is 1.025. So in our 10th place is our 0. So we know that is not it because the 2 is next. So that is not it. We can look at B. 0, 2 is to the right of it, so we know that is not correct. Then we're going to look at 1.35, and we know that cannot be correct because the 5 is going to round that up to a 4, so it's not going to have a 100th place. So it has to be D, 1.4. That is our answer. Alright, so let's go on. Let's look at number 4. Number 4 reads, what is 33.314 rounded to the nearest 100th? Okay, so in our 100th place is our 1, and so we're going to look to the right at the 4. And in our 4, right there, we know it's less, so we know it's going to just be 33.31. So 4 is going to be D. Alright, so let's look at number 5. So number 5 reads, what is 5.709 rounded to the place value of the underlined digit? So 7 is underlined and the place value beside it is 0. So we know it's going to stay the same. So we know the answer for number 5 is going to be B, 5.07. So let's look at number 6. So Tara correctly rounded one of these numbers to 821. Which number was it? So we're going to have to look at all of our choices here. Okay, so A reads 8.21.3. So we know 3 is going to be our number we're looking at in the 10th place, and it is not going to round up. Nope. So it's not going to round up, so we know that A has to be our answer. Okay, so let's look at number 7. It reads, use the underline. Which number could be at the black point on the number line? So let's look at our choices. So let's look here. We know it's a little past the 4. So we know that it's past the 4, so we definitely know it is not going to be A. B is 3.7, so we know it's past the 4, so we know it cannot be B. But when we look at C, definitely, that could be our choice. Alright, so let's look at number 8. So number 8 reads, when rounding 143.73 to a certain place, Ned wrote 144. What will Ned write when he rounds 314.88 to the same place? Well, of course, let's look at this. So we know it's not going to round to 320. And B says it rounds to 315, which is correct. Because we know that 8 is going to round that 4 up to 8. So let's look at number 9. So number 9 says, Leon correctly rounded one of these numbers to 57.02. Which number was it? So we know it couldn't have been A. Let's look at B. B says 15.013. Definitely couldn't have, because that 3 is not going to round up. But on C, 57.017, that 7 is going to round that 1 up to a 2. So it is C. Number 10. A carpenter needs to cut a piece of wood that is exactly 12.65 feet long. Which piece of wood could he use or be used? Let's look at A. Let's look at A. So A says 12 feet. Well, we definitely know 12 feet cannot be cut down any lower. So let's go ahead and mark A out. Let's look at B. So B is 12.3. That's definitely still not going to be long enough. And then when we look at C, 12.5 feet, that's definitely not long enough. But then when we look at D, 12.8 feet, we know that definitely can be cut down to 12.65. So don't forget to always go into Google Classroom. You can rewatch this video. In Google Classroom, the Google code is 2MK74E3. You can always reach me at math1jgcc@gmail.com. You can easily instant message me on Facebook. I would love for you to go into Tabe Academy and watch some videos on how to round if you're having any trouble with rounding decimals. Even if you're not, these should be very simple for you to just go in and work through. Don't forget, your username is your first name, number 1. The password is happy1. Also, there'll be I have already assigned in iExcel some working with decimals of rounding. Your username is your first name, 1 at Job Corps. And don't forget, your password is joyful1. I hope you all are enjoying this beautiful day. It's supposed to warm up today, so hopefully we can maybe get outside in your yard. Make sure you're doing your social distancing, washing your hands. Y'all have a great day, and I miss you all.